Alright, I'm going to be posting, as long as I can, a vegan video every day, up until and including May 1st, 2017. As some of you have seen, I am going to be releasing my new book, Justice is Served, How and Why Christian Culture Inherently Supports Veganism, on Monday, May 1st. And I've been posting some social medias along with social media images along with that, as many places as I can post it, and or at least as many places as I can post it regularly. And yeah, people are always gonna people are always gonna give vegans flack, and I don't take any of it personally because it's bigger than that for me. You know, if it were just about me, which it's not, it would be a completely different story. But you know, people can make their comments and ask their questions, and I mean, there's all types of audiences when it comes to veganism. Honestly, this is going to be a bit of a longer video, but you know, there's people who are just kind of silent and they're just observing from the sidelines, and they haven't really made up their mind yet, and that's fine. I'd like to talk with those people, but you know, you can't force people to be vocal about anything. You just have to wait for when they're curious. Then there's the curious people, the people who are asking questions. They have innocent intentions, and you know, they just want to know more. And I love talking with those people because they're usually the easiest to talk with. Then there's the smart Alex, and they bring a lot of excuses to the table, and they're really not looking to learn or even to discuss anything. They might have legitimate questions at heart, but they're not really fielding it that way. They're not really verbalizing it in a genuine way. And I just kind of try to answer what they, or respond to what they say, and then I'm kind of done with that for the time being, because you know, I don't really have time for smart Alex, because they reveal themselves very early on. They're just being snarky, and it's like, all right, I'll talk with you when you're ready to talk, but you know, I'm not interested in joking around a bunch about something that's very serious and something that's very real. And then there's probably some people who don't have innocent intentions or actions, and they just mean harm, but I've almost never encountered someone like that. It's usually people who are genuinely curious, and they actually want to have a dialogue, or it's the smart Alex, and they're just kind of trying to, you know, make up excuses for something that they don't want to think about. But ultimately, I'm not even trying to dictate or demand who does or does not talk with me. Like, whoever comes my way, I'll handle it, you know. I like any opportunity to talk about veganism. It's just sometimes it takes a minute to figure out where people are coming from and what their main motive is. But yeah, I'm just going to cover a couple basic thoughts here, and I'm going to be reading some facts and going into a bunch of the common reasons that people feel like veganism isn't for them, or that even if they feel like it's for them, there's a lot of people that think there's obstacles that exist that really don't, especially in 2017. Might have been a bit of a different story back in 1900 or 1400, or even earlier than that. But let's dive into it. So for today, I'm just going to cover a really powerful but simple thought, and it's that I genuinely think that everybody at heart is a vegan, and it's behaviorally that many of us act differently, or in conflict with that vegan belief. And the reason I say I believe everybody's vegan at heart is because I have yet to meet a single person who legitimately feels animals are deserving of unjust harm. In other words, I have yet to meet someone who's serious when they look me in the eye and say, I want animals to suffer, to be in pain, and to die unjustly. So what we're not talking about is, we're not talking about like animals that aren't okay in the head, or like, you know, if there's an animal that's clearly causing harm to humans or others, which by the way are very few, and I'm gonna be posting more about that later. But humans, aside from like mosquitoes and maybe one other creature, humans kill the most, the largest amount of other creatures globally annually. So I mean, first of all, it's not true that there are even many harmful animals out there, because we're not talking about animals that are what am I trying to say? We're not talking about ecological systems where carnivores exist, like carnivorous animals within their ecological niche. That's different from animals that are not okay in the head, such as a rabid dog, or I don't know, just in other words, just a super defensive or offensive animal that is trying to maliciously attack. You just don't see it outside of like creatures that are trying to protect their young. Like, of course, a mother bear is going to protect her cubs. Like, we don't need to go into that. But basically, what I'm getting at, I don't need to get super convoluted or complex here. I have yet to meet a human that is serious when they tell me that they think, you know, that there should be animals that should be unjustly killed. Like, we don't kill animals because they're dangerous and because they're causing harm. We kill them because we're exploiting them and because we think we need them for taste or pleasure or convenience or whatever it might be, or tradition. But that's kind of the first topic I wanted to go into is, it's humans, like, everything we do towards animals that is undeserving is because we've decided to use the mindset of might makes right. And we inherently understand that if a creature has done no wrong, that it's deserving of no imprisonment, punishment, pain, and death. Like, we just inherently know that. Like, you don't need to take an ethics course at the 400 college level to understand that if someone hasn't done anything wrong, then they're not deserving of wrong. It's pure, simple logic in the brain. If you've done something good, you can be deserving of good, but you're certainly not deserving of wrong, especially if you've done no wrong. So everybody understands that. The reason people behave differently is because everything's hidden from us. Slaughterhouses are kept, far away from the public eye, and you're not even allowed to. Every time undercover investigators have to go in, it's because of what I just said. They have to go in undercover. Like, there's a law, and it's a fake law, but it's a law. It's an unjust law, but it's a law on the books that says you're not allowed to, like, film or tape or record anything in a slaughterhouse, because people know that if more of the public saw what happened, slaughterhouses would go out of business overnight, and they slowly but surely are already, because there's already videos out there. But anyways, that's the thing, is people understand inherently that if you're not doing anything wrong, you're not deserving of wrong in return. So that's the fallacy, that's the illusion, that's the myth, is that we don't need to kill animals. There's just no reason. And I'm going to go more into the nutrition facts later this month, but I'm just starting with the ethics because that's the most important piece, and it's also like the biggest piece, and it's the one that people get hung up on the most, at least in my experience. But yeah, the couple other things I want to go into is basically that people fall into one of three categories. Either people just don't know, like they don't realize that 150 billion animals are killed every year globally for food. That's 60 billion land animals, it's 90 billion sea creatures, and that's just for what's created for, or what's captured or created or bred for production and consumption. That's not including bykill. For every one fish that's caught for food, there's 5 other that are caught needlessly just due to inefficient fishing practices, and also just the unnecessary demand of animal agriculture in the first place. But 150 billion total sea and land creatures are, created, confined, bred, slaughtered for food. Some people just don't know that, and that's okay, because it's like, it's very well concealed from the public eye. So if you didn't know, that's okay, but now you know. And as William Wilberforce says, you aren't responsible if you didn't know, but as soon as you know, you can't turn away, because that's indicative of irresponsibility and immaturity. And we're all in this together. We don't get to just wait on other people to fix the problem. We have to do it. We're the adults. Like, there's no other adults. There's not, like, another team that's like doing this for us. So I don't think I need to go into that. So some people just don't know. Second group is, you know, they're just making excuses. They're like, I'm trying to remember if I had a third group, but anyways, I'll continue with the second for now. Second group is like, well, I can see that how veganism like works, and that it would make sense and all that, but they're like, I don't. They're just not sure how to, I guess, look for information, and or they're just stuck on something and they're worried about something, because we have the internet, you know, and not everything on the internet is true, of course, but we have ways to verify information, and there are websites that are, you know, run by people that we have to trust if we want to take anything they say seriously, like the American Dietetic Association, the American College of Cardiology, the World Health Organization. What else? Those are just a few. Nutritionfacts.org is run by Michael Greger. He's a board certified doctor, and very popular doctor, actually, by the way. There's documentaries, resources, websites, organizations, nonprofits, like the list goes on and on. If you start with vegankit.com or adapt.org or even nutritionfacts.org, those are 3 great places to start. That'll get you a lot of information right off the bat. The Legacy of Pythagoras.wordpress.com, I think, is another one. Even if you just look up the Legacy of Pythagoras, you'll find it. So it'll be like the first or second Google result. That has a ton of info too. I mean, you can just Google stuff too, and you'll find it. But those are some of my favorite resources. But yeah, there's some people that, like, they're interested, or they think they are at least, but they're just like hung up. They're like, they don't realize that B12 is vegan, and that it doesn't strictly come from animal products. It's a bacterial strain. I'll go more into that in a future video. But yeah, the point is, the answers are out there. You just have to look for them, and you have to be willing to learn them and like understand them and embrace them. Like, it's not just gonna, you can go vegan overnight, but you won't necessarily perfectly understand everything overnight, and that's okay. I mean, I didn't. I was a vegetarian for a year and a half before I went vegan. I took time to do all that, but took more time than I should have. But you know, I took time in figuring everything out, and like understanding it is the bigger thing. But yeah, so people either don't know, or they're making excuses, or you know, I guess you could put the third category with a label of like people who are more willfully antagonistic or just apathetic. Like, it's almost like there's the people that are either they're oblivious, or you do know, and you're just trying to understand it, and you're trying to take steps forward, but there's some obstacle that's there that you're not sure how to address. But then there are the people who I would label as, you know, they're not even, well, some of them aren't being willfully mean, but some of them are being willfully apathetic, even though they don't realize that. And that's tough, because it's like, you really just don't know what's holding them up. It's almost like they don't want to ostracize friends or family, and yet I can't think of really anyone that I've ostracized by being vegan that's a friend or family member. I mean, people will not always be excited about the vegan message, and that's pretty that's pretty prevalent still, as people aren't really like stoked about it yet. But it's still, I don't know, there's people that will just kind of look the other way or pretend that they haven't heard what you've said. But it's like, you know, you have to pick what you're okay with at the end of the day. You can't live your life based off what other people will think of you, because that's very that's very scary. That's very short-sighted, and it's just not a good recipe for success. I mean, you're not going to please everybody, so don't try. So it just doesn't work that way. Some people are always going to be in their own little box, but you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, am I a compassionate person? Am I a loving person? Am I a caring person? Am I someone who cares about justice? Do I like being someone that I like? Am I someone that cares about doing the right thing? Do I want to be healthy? Do I want to be a good role model for my kids, for my parents, for my grandparents, for my siblings, for my boyfriend, for my girlfriend? Do I care about, doing the right thing? Do I care about being someone that others can look up to? And if you answered yes to like all those positive things, if you care about being that type of person, veganism is for you. And I'm not doing that to like sell anything, because I have people who will want, unrelated to my book, people who will want the book will buy it. Veganism in itself is nothing to sell. I'm writing a book because I care about the message. I don't care how much money I make with a book. It's just about the message. It's about having people get excited about something that hopefully they already want to learn more about. But yeah, I'm going to be lovingly persistent with these videos, because I ultimately don't really care who likes them or who doesn't. I just want to be outspoken on this. So yeah, I'm going to close it off. It's a 16-minute video. I'll see you guys next time.